coming. And this talk of mine just happens at the end of this semester, and also at almost the end of my research career here. So I would like to see this as a capstone of my research, and also to share with you some of my passions, devotions, indignations, and also some of the cooled down thought about the field. And let me first start by explaining the title, The Spurious Kang, Recognizing Elements of Culture in the Field. So basically, the field, as you know, is the village that I grew up with. And then at the very beginning of this 2-year journey here, I did not claim that that's the village that I grew up with. I just explained and proposed this project by saying that, okay, this is engagement of the left behind families in the countryside. And then I'm going to go in and do the field research, and then come up hopefully with the result to be published. And then at that time, I was afraid of a lot of things. And then this project here, this presentation here, is actually not about a conventional presentation about the certainties, about the findings, but more about the uncertainties in the field, and how a researcher, an ethnographer entering the field, feel perplexed, feel puzzled, and finally find his way out. And then I feel it is very necessary to do so because that previously, as a master student, as a PhD student, I have been constantly told about the success stories of research, being there and then come up with very beautiful figures, data, and also conclusions. Either it is qualitative or quantitative. But again, as a student, I felt at a loss because I do not know the inklings about entering the field, what you are going to meet, what you are going to encounter, and what if what you have learned in the books do not agree with what is happening in the field. And you cannot recognize which part belongs to what in the structure of the field. So basically, this uncertainty is about to correlate or to connect two structures. One is the structure of theory that we have all been learning. The other is the structure, the actually visual structure, and then the audio structure, actual everyday life of the people in the field, how they are going to correlate and then be connected with. And then how they are going to be connected with is actually the way we theorize, the way we come up with the shape of the project and also the result. Let me come back to this spurious Kang. Because in which part it's spurious? Because at the very beginning, I do not know whether as an auto-ethnographer, I'm going to be granted the chance to enter the village. And also thinking far ahead at that time, I want to avoid the complications of writing as an auto-ethnographer. Why? Because we are so familiarized with the conventional writing, and also it's still the mainstream of the publication. So basically, I want to avoid all these, and I want to avoid, this one going into the fields, with the excuse of doing research, actually visiting their family. And then at that time, Kang didn't appear as one is fully involved, at least in presentations and publications. Actually, it's a somewhat detached researcher. And the spurious comment, another part of it is that every time I went to the field twice, every time I enter into the same village, I seem to be shocked by the village where I grew up with, and I recognize something that is so different from my memories, and also so different from what I expect, and so different what I expect from the theories. So therefore, sometimes I'm thinking that is my memory entirely wrong? I grew up like a little less than 20 years, grew up in a village. What happens to that memory? And then, if memories are composed of meanings of life, then if that part of meanings of life is wrong, then apart from the foods I eat, the clothes I wear at that time, what is me? So I have been established on a spurious ground that give me enough reason to doubt my presence at that time. So therefore the spurious come. So Kang comes into this title, not easy, because that have been after these 2 years getting 2 or 3 publications under review by Dr. Dada, and then until that I feel so safe about the field, about myself, my position in the field, and about how to explain exactly my relationship with the field. I come up with this Kang. So this is not just a hoax to say that come at the end of the semester enjoy my talk. It's actually the logic subject that becomes the real subject of the event. And then it's all about recognition and then the problems of recognition. Let's share with you some elements that actually affect your recognition in the field. One is cultural insiders and importance of carol conversation. So basically, when I was in the field, I continued to talk with these cultural insiders, these villagers, and then a lot of times it's casual talk. It might not be the best, politically right way to say that, actually more than 50% of my conversation or talk with the villagers were not actually intellectual talk, was not their serious questioning and answering, but actually the casual talks. But this is the most important part to a newcomer in the field, that is to get familiarized or re-familiarized with the clues and information in the field. And then the second one is left behind family and dilapidated village. This part I'm going to show you. It's both the visual kind of impact or shock to me, and also a kind of mindset from the theories that I have read before. And number 3 is being a son of the village and nostalgia. This part is that my past memories and the sentimentality of being me, of being one that is out of this village constantly produce some kind of, sometimes voices, sometimes noises to my project and affecting my recognition of culture. And number 4 is academic training and institutionalized self, training and professional identity. This also comes into play when you want to recognize something in the field. So basically, instead of me just talking about the influences or elements of recognition that influences my recognition, how about we just give you the impact that I have experienced in the field. And then the first one, also because this room is too hot, I'm going to... It's okay. It is not entirely that, because this performative part of it is, if you're into the field with such smart-looking shirt, then they are going to recognize you as an outsider. You are immediately alienated already. So, and me being out for more than 20 years cannot afford being looked at as an outsider or being too good for you guys when I enter, even if I condescend myself by entering the field. So, first shock. At the very beginning, I was thinking that I can give them some document of health. For example, chronic diseases, heart disease, high blood pressure. I can give them a document and ask the advisory board to come up with solutions, to come up with ideas to edit it. You know, which part is good, which part is not good, what language actually does not suit the villagers. But that idea didn't fly. I gave it to them and they didn't like it. So I was at a loss. You know, all the plan Bs, you know, if they did not work, so it will mean that this project is a failure. So for 4 or 5 days, I was constantly talking with the family members, extended family members, relatives, and you know, once in one of the carol conversations, my auntie from a neighboring village told me that actually the whole village is going to be bulldozed down. Why? Because many houses are like this one has been, you know, evacuated, abandoned actually. So I was thinking that, you know, this village also is part of my memory, and then why don't I just go there to do some of the documentary photography there? That's my, you know, that's my passion. So I went there, and this is the first house that I entered illegally. But you know, there's no back door, no front door. There's only 2 holes there, so and many holes here. This is actually one of the adobe beds that local people use, and it has been destroyed. Looking at these newspapers that they use to paste the wall, I was thinking that how in winter times that they have some fields there, and then it's a warm and a cozy place. And this is actually styling made of local produced plants, and then the beds. This is the front door. They actually abandoned the gate. Actually, you know, no one's using that. And these, you know, stalks is a sure side to say that okay, we have abandoned this one. This is another, and I have a closer up for this one. You know, it used to be loved. It used to be home. Actually, neighboring. Okay. The next one. Locked, no one is there. Next one. Abandoned. And the spring is here. Abandoned. So we are not, I was not just choosing to photograph. I'm just photographing one door and upon next. Okay. This is another, this one was not abandoned. This one is abandoned. This one is abandoned. This one I was not sure, maybe off. This one definitely is abandoned. Closer. This one was not. This one is. This one was not. No. So for the entire land, this is the. There were only 2 people were there. When I talked with them, I asked them, you know, how many homes here were abandoned? They said that on this land, there are only 3 homes. You know, people are still residing there. And then, you know, the rest has been abandoned. So left behind, at that time I was thinking left behind family is not about only the middle generation going to the city leaving behind the older generation and the little ones. It's also about the abandonment of the whole village. And then up to a point that the higher government is saying that we are going to bulldoze the whole village down. So, because this comes from a conversation my auntie told me that my village is going to be bulldozed. And then I got that in strange look from the other village. And I was thinking to myself, how about I photograph my village, one layer of it, the same way that I did for the previous one. Doesn't work.
Really?
Can I just tell me and then I help you to break
Okay.
it?
Yeah, can you go to the previous one? Yeah. This is the first one of that land. Second one, please. The second one was abandoned because this lot of land was allocated to one person to raise up their building and the house. He actually didn't do that because the whole village is empty. This one is abandoned. This one only like one couple there. And this one is not. This one is not. And then when you recognize this, maybe you recognize it as a wealthier family. But actually, the situation in the village is that if you have unmarried kids, and if your house is made of adobe, and then not adobe acrobat or whatever, real adobe, then no one is going to marry your kids. So the first thing that if they have some surplus money or they try to squeeze some surplus money out, they are going to build a house with a great grand looking gate so as to attract wives, okay? For their sons. This one is abandoned. Go on, please. This one obviously abandoned. This one abandoned. This one abandoned. Actually, go to previous one. So this one, the wife died, and then the husband went out to work. Two adult children also went out to work. And no one knows whether their father is contacting the two kids or the two kids have contact with each other or not. This house has been abandoned for several years. And no one knows where they are now. Or maybe they have been arrested, killed, or working in the quiet corners of this, international development of economy.
Would they still be able to claim this property if they came back, or the children?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The irony is that usually they do not. Okay, because that livelihood lies not here but somewhere else. Go on, please. And this you can see that definitely several generations of building materials. This adobe and this bricks. Actually, bricks, like in 30 years ago, when people want to marry their daughter to another family, they are going to count the bricks on the wall. If you have 8 layers of bricks, and then you will be considered a wealthy family, and then it's safe and secure to marry my daughter to your son. And nowadays, it's abandoned. See here. These tiles, because people started to use this, country, the city-style apartments kind of building. The tiles have no use anymore. So they are actually, throwing this away. Years ago, they used to be the dear product that they want to purchase. Go on, please. This one not. This one not. This one, see? The tiles. And this one, I'm going to talk more about it, but I'm going to return this to the last part of the presentation. Just to remember this picture, and it reminds me of telling you the story behind that. And this one, abandoned. And then the story behind it is, the grown-up man went to the city to work in a glass factory, as you know, and was squeezed to death by the falling of a pile of glass. And his wife married a bachelor in the same village, and this family was, left to its fate. Come on, please. This one is not. This one, is not. This one is not. This one is not. This one, a 50-year, a man in his 50 years of age, still a bachelor, and just keep on collecting this garbage for recycling to get some money. This one, only the old lady in her 70s, late 70s, living by on her own. And this one is abandoned. This one, I do not know. What do you think about it? Just go on, please. But this one you know, right? It's not from my village. It's called what? Migrant mother and with her children. Go on, please. This one is actually mother without their migrant children. It's because the migrant children migrated to the cities to live there. This one is not. And then they actually call this sheep and goats, actually the bank of goats, because goat's milk now is comparatively expensive. Go on, please. This one is not. This one is not. This one is. This one is. This one is not. And this one is. That's the end of the land. So basically then you see more families have been abandoned. Now, it's not just my impression, and I'm going to now ask you guys your impression. Maybe just a few sentences or one word. What's your expression, seeing all this? Yes, please.
Some of the houses are new built houses.
Mm-hmm.
Are the people still living there?
No, I'm not going to answer any questions. Just tell me what's your feeling about these pictures.
I think I get a sense of loneliness.
Loneliness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Abandonment.
I mean,
Is it? Yeah.
there is no traces of a community is around. Something like that. When a village means a community,
Mm-hmm.
activities of life, there is no sense like that.
Okay, just quickly several words.
No, it's interesting that you showed that picture of Dorothea Lange, by Dorothea Lange, of that was in the 30s in the States,
Mm-hmm.
after a terrible drought, but that was part of, was taken as a commission for the Farm Security Administration, the FSA, and the question, well, it's not a question, why isn't that the government doing anything about insecurity in the villages and the countryside? But that's a question. But that's the comment, the connection you make there, very interesting.
Okay. So let me tell you the real story behind all these dilapidated houses and two villages. So the first impression for me is loneliness plus abandonment plus poverty plus all the good memories. How come it come to this stage? But then later on, I learned that actually in the previous village, all those houses, apart from 3, have been abandoned because the majority of those guys working in the cities have earned enough money because they were in a business owned by themselves. They have migrated to another place, to a nearby place that is very close to their main road, to the highway. And then they consider that to be another faster way, another highway for them to make a much more economic progress. Therefore, poverty in that one was not the case for a lot of households. In my village, actually, the majority of them was because of the poverty, because they were not in their self-owned businesses. They just go out to work as migrant workers, and then therefore they abandoned. And then this did not come lightly, because at the very beginning I was thinking that, oh, okay, all these left behind from the theories that I have read, left behind has already given me the impression that they are victimized. They need help. But then the first visit to the village was like, I asked all these residing villagers about their attitudes towards their younger generation going to the cities. And many of them told me that actually, you know what, I prefer them to go out to work. And I can handle myself, my everyday living and chores in the family and on the farm. So basically that all these seems like a disguise, or seems like the everyday culture of the village is cheating you, because the first impression of being the left behind in development. Actually, there are multiple layers of that. So based on that, I was thinking that maybe I can just get these guys together. Last time they were talking, my first visit in last year, to get them talk about how they enjoy their lives apart from being living in this dilapidated and lonely situation. So you see here, my recognition has a sudden change here. So basically the first one is, oh, you guys are the wretched of the earth, and then you deserve to be pitied, and so on. And then the second part is, no, wait a minute, this is part of my memory actually. I think it's poverty, it's loneliness, it's might be that my memories, the impressions of what development should look like is interfering with my thinking. So at that time, also because the first plan didn't work, so I talked with several of talked with several of the advisory board. Okay, during one conversation, I was told that there will be a 3-day Buddhist temple gathering in a nearby village. Is it possible to rejuvenating the percussion team that the village has already have by involving them in participating in this temple meeting? Could I propose that to the percussion team? This does seem like an opportunity. But on the other hand, I was also concerned about the different agendas of participation. The temple meeting is set for the religious aim. The percussion team is a local art form that does not even necessarily agree with the often secluded and quiet Buddhist culture. Let alone that I want to see the possibilities of using it for promoting upbeat life attitude and health activity behaviors. Could it happen that such a joint venture be hijacked into other agendas? For example, the agenda of the Buddhist temple meeting. Because at that time, I was truly worrying about, first, will the percussion team come into being? They have the instrument, but they do not have a leadership, nor the regular schedule for practicing. And then also I was thinking that will it be connected to religious ideas, and then at that time how I'm going to view this, how I'm going to write about this. So I have all these worries. So I interviewed several of the advisory board members about their ideas of percussion team, its past practices, leadership, and equipment. Such general questions were asked before I asked them about their knowledge of the Buddhist meeting, their willingness to participate or not, and the preparations of the team have to make to ready itself Importantly, all three of the members wanted it to be a more centralized and a better coordinated team, and with regular practices. They also suggested that the village head needs to be involved because their power could not be ignored. They also suggested the site of the meeting being at one of the three members' home. And with all this already very detailed information, I had more certainty that the meeting is very likely to push for a better organization of the team and be followed with regular practices. Now the next thing is let the village head know. And why I didn't invite this village head into the advisory board? Because this village head, in the local knowledge, information from the grapevines, is that this guy embezzles money, and this guy is corrupt, and this guy is not readily, trusted by villagers. But at the same time, see, all these three members told me that I should involve that one. Why? Because that one still has the power of organization. So that's why I went to that village head's home and introduced my goal and my research agenda, and then tell him that, can you give me some help? The village head agreed to help, but he said, I'm not going to go to one of the three members' home that we decided as the site of the meeting. Instead, I'm going to go to that one. We need to all go to that one. Why? Because that members had before accused this village head of embezzlement. And then, although the village head gave me a different reason, you can see that they are not in good terms. So the meeting actually was successfully summoned, and we went to the other house that this village head recommended. And at that time I was thinking how interesting this is, because in the published work you seldom see that many violent contrasting powers. This one is the embezzler, at the same time the organizer of the meeting. This one plays both the hero and the villain of the play. So basically, this is part of the another recognition that I have. You use what you have in the local area and make do with your project. Please, can we go on? So yeah, I talked about this from left behind to self-reliance to find their joy. And then before the meeting, we actually had this, small-scale meeting, and we come up with some percussion notes. And at that time, I was thinking that if the village head was going to start a fight or quarrel with that member who has accused himself, at least I can quiet them down and then, give each one music note so that we can discuss something concrete, something that out of all these uncertainties to be certain about at least one part of it. From preconceived ideas to locally available or acceptable forms of activities. Before that, I was, I told you guys, I was thinking about letting them edit the pamphlet of chronic disease, and then it can be such a meaningful activity to do, and I was going to document the process when the brochure changes, evolves from its previous form to the final form. So this is immediately after, not immediately after the meeting, the second day after the meeting. Yeah. Okay, change 3 is that from trying to control the process to seek opportunities within the process. So my preconceived idea was that I was the designer of the project. I had previously visited the village, therefore at least my proposal connected with the feedbacks from the first visit will be good enough to be a sustainable project. But actually, I found that I have to follow the path, especially with my encounter with this village head. Sometimes you have to succumb to the power that is locally involved. Okay, so this I have already covered. Number 4 is from single actions of research to organically grown local social discourse. So, in order to promote this, in a meeting we actually come up with the leadership, the practice time, the location of the practice, and the leadership alone is already good enough for the team to maintain continual practice. But why didn't it happen before? That's a strange thing. I'm still thinking about it, but my partial explanation is that that's just the local atmosphere. There's always a need for something that everyone can recognize that it is good for the village, but then no one is going to just stand up and to say that this is the thing that we need to do. Please, go to the previous one. And each village has potentials to be the center of this overall social discourse. So actually, in order to promote that, I visited 5 different places, recorded with the new record that Daniel has bought, different dancing styles and percussion performances. So what I was thinking at that time was that the Sun village, my village, its percussion team cannot sustain itself without communicating with other villages and by learning other forms of performance. So that's why. So what I have is that, this normally it's time for conclusion, but instead I have some questions. Of all this presentation, it can be recognized as the don'ts and do nots, in the field, or technical know-hows for the newcomer of ethnography. But actually not. Okay, besides that, I want it to be something else. I want to say that in the field, what I actually encountered is not the odds and ends of ethnographic work, but something that is centrally connected to the ways we understand culture. So all this, you constantly hear this cliche that culture is fluid. And usually this statement is followed by nothing to explain that fluidity of culture. They are not going to tell you it's fluid and it has a taste of sweetness or sour sweet or numbness. They are not going to tell you that, sometimes they are going to tell you that culture is semi-fluid. But they tend to explain that fluidity part of it, but seldom consider the solid part of culture. But then what is the solid part of culture? Does culture have its form? So in ways, can I do this project without informing the village head? If I cannot, then does it tell us something that the organization or the structure is the form that culture always assumes? This is quite a different kind of claim as we frequently hear the talks about culture, that culture is, a plethora of meaning, and culture is fluid form. And then let's talk again about the materiality of culture. I mean, it's like, say that my relationship with another guy is so close, and we are deeply connected. Saying this is at the same time to claim that we are two different individuals. So saying that culture is so closely connected with structure is at the same time to claim that culture has its own identity as structure has its own identity. So basically, can you see any culture without a form? Can you see any culture without its own structure or organization? Or can you see any organization that does not at the same time assume an identity of being culture or social culture? So that's why I say that does culture have its forms? And what forms does this project actually assume and why? What parts of the procedure in which the project assumes its forms cannot be reversed? If it cannot be reversed, it means there is something concrete that we cannot afford to ignore, that we must dig into it to say that let's halt all our talks about culture as fluid, to assume an amorphous form, such a oxymoron. But then to say that what form it assumes. And then does culture have its own texture, structure, material form, or anything but amorphous? I have already covered that. In what ways does the local history, present, organization, and communication come into play? For this one, I actually have a thought. Think about the 5 villages that I have visited. Think about all these cultural forms. And also, all importantly, also think about that temple meeting. And in the temple meeting, when I went to the temple, I found that the temple is claimed to be a Buddhist temple, but all the gods come from different parts of their, culture. It can be real person changing into gods. It's a god of medicine, which is definitely not a Buddhist culture, from a Buddhist culture. It can be Tibet domination of Buddhism. It also has Buddhism as some of the portrait of Buddhism. So basically, even that one is considering its culture into a kind of like something emergent, something that including all this social power to assume a future form. And then I think that we can learn a lot from that. Please. Okay, these are some of the pictures from the meeting. Go on. They are using the notes. Go on. Discussing about it. Okay, when I talk about CCA research, and then now they became silent and was listening attentively. And then someone cracked a joke, and then atmosphere, and another. So in the head of the meeting, I had to bring everyone back to track. So the night after the first meeting. So that's the Swim Village Percussion or Dancing Team Organization. And we have the theme of the percussion team and then the organization who's going to be in charge of whom. So I was entrusted to do that for the villagers, and I believe that the written form of it, together with this evolving social discourse, is going to join in a certain kind of upbeat movement. Okay. Comes the central part of this talk. I'm joking. So I love this picture very much, and I think this encapsulated the most important message I want to carry. I actually love it so much that I wrote a poem about it, about the moment it happened before my camera. So the elderly lady invited me to see her new house. It's not a poem. When that's completed last year, we entered the empty house, because all her kids. Okay. One room is for the lady's son and daughter-in-law, both of whom work in a city whose name the lady does not know. 2 rooms are for the lady's grandchildren. He pointed to me. This is for my grandson, and this is for my 2 granddaughters, who are all out in a boarding school. I noticed a frame of pictures on the wall. All 1 inch or 2 inches big, black and white, telling stories of the family some 30 years ago. I approached the frame with the lady. She explaining each one of these to me. What a beautiful culture of the past, was my thought. All of a sudden, this lizard wiggled out from behind the frame, took us aback, and the lady into a scream and a frenzied look for red tools to catch this bastard. The merit of it, if you think the static pictures that you can easily see as culture, be aware that you might be surprised and caught unprepared by the lizard behind this culture. Merit 2. In actuality, you are more likely to be baffled and surprised by the materiality of culture that you do not know what to do and do not have right tools for it. Merit 3. Instead of calling the lizard behind the frame of culture as lizard, should we consider the lizard as part of culture? Even if it means that we have to rethink about or re-recognize what constitutes as the frame of culture. Thank you. Maybe I can show one of the performances of the percussion team. Anyhow, many of you come for the percussion, and instead I told you something about the culture. So I basically hijacked the thing. Very successful.
Which one?
Hijack. This one.
This one. So that's it. Questions? Thoughts?
You said that the percussion group, they were not quite seeing eye to eye with the rest of the advisory board. And can you explain, elaborate a bit more on that, and then you come to agreement with the
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I thought you mentioned that the percussion group was not, you know, the same wavelength with the rest of
The village band.
the Western board and all that. Or was
Yeah.
tensions
It
there?
happens that the 3 members of the advisory board is also the active members of the 3 active members of the percussion team. So basically, one of those, because he accused the village head does not agree with him. But then when I entered the field, I came as someone who is trying to promote health. So the village head does not have the excuse to say that, okay, I'm not going to support you. And then therefore, it comes like, this multiple kind of elements in this joined together to discuss how we are going to come up with the percussion team. For me, there are so many uncertainties because of that. But then for the thought of culture, I'm thinking that, nothing could be as pure as it is often appeared in a finished, published product. But we yet need to learn how to incorporate all these different voices, sometimes even recognized as noises of the field. So to consider it within an enlarged or expanded frame of culture. So that's my idea. Then thank God that it actually succeeded. The meeting was successful. Yes.
May I get back to my question? Some of the newly built house, that means that people are living there, and I have seen most of them, except the percussion team, are the aged people. What about the children or young people?
Children, young people, without exception, went to the cities to work. Yeah. Maybe our family is one of the exceptions, but then still I went to a city to work. Not as migrant workers, but still migrant workers, not doing manual labor. There's no middle generation. And then some of them, quite a small part will come back for harvest or for sowing, but then majority will not come back. So basically it's only elderly people and very young kids, very little kids. And then the children, when they come to the schooling age, usually they would choose to go to another place, as in the local schools cannot open because there's drainage of schooling kids. Some of the successful middle-aged people, they just bring their kids to the cities to have education there. Therefore, the local schools, the education level is going down, and there was not enough resources. The best resources was not allocated to those schools, and therefore it becomes a vicious circle. And then all the kids, if they can afford to go to a higher level local school, they would choose to go there to become boarding school students. So basically, it's also can be seen as a commercialization of schooling or education in a particular local context in China. Directly affected by this economic development in China. Although we are talking about development that can be easily seen in big cities, usually thousands of miles away in China. But though this influence is direct, it's direct cause, although geographically very isolated, very far apart.
Well, isn't the case when I went to the Fujian province, there were a lot of things like that, but just the elderly, but lots of children left behind because the migrant workers are not, because of the HACO system, were not allowed to register them in the cities.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the case in your area, in your village. The children also gone.
Yes. There are, different stories. For some very powerful and very wealthy ones, they can have official or unofficial ways to register their children in the city schools. Majority of the kids actually went to the higher level local school. Actually, in my county, it's actually the central school in the county. The county, not any township schools or village schools. When I was a primary school student, I actually went to, my village school. There were enough kids to have a village school. Now even town school is not up to the par to open and still make a living or profit.
I'm quite interested in your idea that those abandoned houses actually doesn't mean those people are very poor. Actually, it means that they are not as bad as we thought, right? So they are not victims of poverty anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to ask is that, yes, they moved to the cities, right? They may have better material life. The point is that I think they are still victims. It's not in terms of poverty or material life, because as the migrant workers or they move to the cities, can they really join into the whole city? Because I have a friend, actually he's from the countryside of province of Shandong. He is my colleague in when I was working in Africa. He is not highly educated. He's only a cook, and he always tried to move to the city. And he spent 7 years in Africa and tried to earn money. And finally, they successfully moved from countryside to the city.
Yes.
They bought a very big house. The point is that because he's a cook, he's not highly educated, and he's from countryside, Chinese always think, oh, you're from countryside. So it's very difficult for him to join into the community.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, they may not be the victims of the poverty,
Yeah.
but they may be victims of, in terms of other aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I think that in one aspect that they can be considered as victims of the development or of the maneuver of capital, not even national capital, international capital or international capitalism. So in some way we can say that to everyone except the very wealthy employers. And then in that case, they are victims. The point that I want to emphasize is that they are not only victims. If I consider them as only victimized, then my recognition of that village will only see the depression, the negative part. And then there won't be any kind of alternative discourse to be developed from that. So basically, it's really important to see that it's a general situation that part of their family and then part of the village is victimized. And then I should not say that. I should say that actually all these families are affected somewhat negatively by the international capital and the national capital. But on the other hand, have a closer look, especially at this the kind of like a depression that I developed personally is really important because alternative discourses can be developed. When I was thinking about that, I was thinking about Gramsci's hegemony and counter-hegemony. how does counter hegemony develop itself if we do not recognize the situation otherwise? So, yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with you that.
But again, you have said that there is a new discourse like this percussion team where they usually gather maybe once a week, or I don't know exactly.
Before they participated in the temple meeting, it's actually every other day. They practice every other day, and then after that they changed it into every Saturday, Saturday evening, and then they, in the second meeting that I had with this percussion team, that's immediately before my departure, and after they participated in the temple meeting, the village head said that they are going to bulldozer allocate a place that is especially for the community space. So it's a public space that people can dance and do this.
Did you say that right? You said before it was every other day? So they used to practice more, and then after the temple it was less?
After the first meeting, before the temple meeting.
Okay, so the meeting did facilitate some more interaction between them and some increase in activity.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my initial thought, that to use the temple meeting as a way to facilitate and strengthen their organization.
So, what kind of age group people could participate in this performance team? Or is it only the seniors? What about young people?
That's very interesting. On the one hand, we cannot see that all the senior members participated. No, that's not the case. But on the other hand, there are people in 30s, mainly in the 40s, also left behind. These wives, they also come to participate. And then there are these school kids who happen to have their education in local school. When they come back, some of them also participated. Again, it's not a clear cut, like I have pure 100% success. But then, can we say this failure or a mixed blessing? No, I'm thinking that maybe from my extended understanding of cultural discourse, this is how the social discourse works. You are intended for the senior citizen to have the health activities, but then the other groups come. You cannot say no, please turn away. And then also some of the other senior citizens, they will just stand surrounding the team and just look. And then we can only hope that when the time goes on, they can join.
Moving on from Rumi's question, I want to ask about what's your sense of the community, of the strength of the community ties within that village? Because to me, when I think village, at least in Singapore, we think of kampong. So the idea is that it's an idyllic image where everyone's doors are open, you can wander into everyone's houses because we are one community. The pictures you show are tall walls, facades, closed doors. So I'm wondering if it's so compartmentalized, so that when you do carry out a community project like this, and then what Rumi says, what sorts of people can participate, or they feel they can participate because they are part of that community.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. It's a very important question, actually. In my memory, people in the countryside never closes doors the very first thing they do in the morning is to open a gate and then sweep the whole house. And then the gates will only be closed and shut in the evening. And nowadays, I think there is a local kind of reason for that. I heard all these people with sheep and goats. That one sheep now is more than 1,000 RMB yuan, and then so they call that banks of sheep, banks of goats, And then, you know, one villager told me that these thieves in the night can use the car jacks to make a hole in a wall and then get in. Because if you use hammer, there will be noise. Car jack, you know, you just jack it the hole in the wall. And then they have this electric tricycles, and then which moves without any noise. So basically, it's a safety reason. I think it's a safety reason. Nowadays, you know, there are people are mobile, and then you know, the kind of old tradition does not anymore.
Because I also love the metaphor of the pictures where it seems like the richer you are, the higher the wall you build.
Mm-hmm.
The more bricks you put on.
The more wives you
My
lost.
my family
Not in
is
China.
my family is actually at the lowest part of the whole length. So with the possibility of occasional flood, if there's you know, it's bound to be my family. So, but you know, we have another house in the city. So,
So you have a very high wall.
we do not have the thing is that all these newly built ones, they want their, you know, base to be higher. And then my next door neighbor's house space is actually half the length of my.
That then of course increases the likelihood of water getting into your house.
That's the good thing, right? But then no privacy, right? There you can see everything.
I have one more question. Sorry, I'm asking.
Yeah.
When government have taken decision that they will bulldoze out whole the village, what about, are they taking the whole the land from the people? And how do they compensate them, or what is the community's decision on
The land. Certainly,
do you know about anything about that?
can you ask the question again?
I mean, you said that one village, first village you have shown that the government has taken that village and they will bulldoze the whole village and build something new.
Mm-hmm.
Means that they acquired the land from the villagers.
No.
So how do they do that? I mean,
They are doing it under the banner of reclaiming arable land. Okay, so you guys are not using this village, so why do not let me bulldoze it down and then return it to arable land? But then it's not going to happen. You know, all these, you know, the building materials, they are not good for crops anymore. And then they say that for the remaining villagers, they say that the compensation will be like peanuts, and then
yeah, so that's the whole is just
yeah, and then the land
you are
land ownership changes is another hot topic in China now, and then it's actually really problematic. And then the central government allows the use of land to be shifted from its current politically assigned owners to other owners. But then this I viewed it as a local way of you know, like what is happening, what was
Across the
happening
globe.
in Great Britain. Yeah, they are circling around their land. But then in this way, they will say, it's to give the private businesses the right to buy and to negotiate the usage of land. And then, I'm sorry, I need to come to Daniel's question again. The sense of community.
Yes.
I think that actually it merits more than what the story I just told. I'm thinking that community, in a sense, it has a geographic location, but then this activity as a kind of interpolation of a certain aspect of community.
Community.
Yeah. So basically, community in this sense is what I'm talking about, fluid. And to some extent, yeah, that the certain kind of activity will gather some people and then will gather organize people in a certain way. And then I see that.
So that is also carries classic notion of communication constituting community.
Yes.
Through the act of communicating, you make up community.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But then they said that we also need to talk about that, how community can work this way but not the other way, and what are the barriers of communication.
I think, an interesting question
Yeah.
is who gets left out of this? Who does not participate? What are the fringes?
From the age group since when I organized, when the activity was organized, I cannot claim to be the one who organized the activity. It was open to all, and it actually was open to all, except that the makeshift space was not enough if all the villagers come to join. But then for the fringes, I do not want to recognize as left out. I would rather recognize as, something that is helping the discourse by even looking at, what is going on here. When I say that, I'm thinking about Foucault's discipline and punish, the last chapter of it. They say that there is such a discourse that policemen, thieves, and then the part of these thieves or the bad guy will be changed into some kind of like accessory force or peripheral force for the police, being used by the police. So that's how I view this discourse. All these people inside directly participating in it is the central force. But then we cannot afford to look at the onlookers as the bystanders. They have the potential of joining or falling out.
I have a methodological question, Kang, in terms of the CCA method, right,
Yes.
as a method for doing this kind of a community-driven work. What are the nuances about the method that you learn from this process?
Above what method?
About CCA as a method, about doing this community-grounded, participatory.
Above or about?
So, like the project, what kind of light does it throw on the epistemology of this kind of work? You see what I'm saying?
Yes. I'm thinking that one way of CCA when it meets with my local reality, the local reality that I experienced, is this is culture-centered approach. So culture is its center, but then at the same time, what is the center of culture? When we deconstruct the culture, and what do we see? Because meanings, all these meanings, for example, having a meeting and then let's promote some kind of meaning as the central meaning, as a meaning around which the social activities can be organized. But then what enabled this meeting? What needs to be done to make the meeting happen? The peripheral at this time becomes the central. So that's what I consider that when we consider the relationship between culture and structure, we know it's not dichotomy. We know that they are closely connected. But then in what way can we bring them even closer? In a kind of like a linguistic format that we are thinking about. Foucault tried to say power, slash knowledge. But then can we bring it even together, the material aspect of culture and cultural aspect of materiality. So that's what I was thinking. Also, one thing that I feel that CC is always with me is the structural part. That it's not like other postmodern influenced theory that totally forget about structure or importance of organization. That's something that I really appreciate in the field. But then other than that, I feel that in the field, we are like the everyday person that is described in this supposed practice of everyday life. We make do in the field. We are juxtaposed into this wild field with all kinds of visual, audio, geographical, spatial, textual events that we do not encounter in our reading as always organized, always from left to right, always from
Always
top to
clean.
down. Yeah, that kind of thing. At that time, we are like the old lady without a tweezer, we are facing a kind of lizard of culture. We need to find the right tool. And usually the right tool can only be found by gathering all the things that you have, and then by twists and turns. So they are trial and error.
Iteration, right?
Trial and error is part of it. Yeah, it's necessary part of it.
But the one other thing also it seems like is that this whole thing is pretty dynamic in a sense that even what the community needs, right? You say the community needs this, because I remember you formed the advisory board first time you came back and you said we need to get brochures ready to get into the hands of the community. And the second time you went back, it was something else completely. So even the idea of what community wants, how it prioritizes that, seems like it's a shifting thing.
It is a shifting thing, and then we can see that it is highly dynamic. But on the other hand, we also need to recognize that this community are very sensitive to percussion teams, to percussion performance instead of others. The square dances that are very popular in China now is not easily recognized by the local people, and then they consider doing percussion as part of their culture. It's in their cultural recognition. So I'm thinking that maybe in the current form of this social discourse of percussion teams as their health activity, we need to recognize maybe part of the historical part, historical memories. Yeah, how they selectively use part of their memories to build the current presence. And then how this current presence or form is actually hijacked or, no, not hijacked, is used for a different purpose. So at the very beginning, some people would say that it's a revival of old culture, but then it's not a pure revival. It's a revival, selective revival for a different purpose. So I think that tells some of the texture, hidden texture of culture as well. Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.